Look at Federalist 35. This is part one. Hamilton talks about taxation and representation. One of the things that he says about taxation and levying taxes is that if you remember, all these Federalist Papers were written to address first and foremost the people of the state of New York. New York had good harbors and they had good ports, so a lot of things were being imported into New York, and commerce was very important for them. And Hamilton says that if we only leave the federal government to tax the imports, if we don't allow the federal government to tax other things than the imports, we people of New York and people like us in other states that do a lot of commerce, they will be hurt by it. That's why we have to allow the federal government to be able to tax people individually also when the time comes when we need it. So that's one of the things he talks about. Because if you remember, I have mentioned it before, one of the things that states like New Jersey and Connecticut did not like was that they had to buy a lot of their things from New York. So New York would this way make a lot of money by selling it to them and passing on the taxes to them. So, and that's why a lot of people in New York were against the Constitution, were anti-federalists, because they said, well, we're benefiting from this import, from this commerce, why should we go for a new constitution? The governor of New York at the time was very much against the new constitution. Remember, of the 3 people that New York sent to Philadelphia, to the Philadelphia Convention, 2 of them walked out, just left the Philadelphia Convention. So that's why Hamilton is reminding them that, well, one of the good things about this new constitution is that it's not only the imports that are going to be taxed, other things will be taxed, so this way states like New York won't be hurt that much. The other issue is representation. Anti-federalists were saying we need more than 65 people in the House of Representatives. Because remember, according to the Constitution, the first time Congress got together, there would only be 65 members of the House of Representatives. And since there were 13 states, each state got 2 senators, so it would be 26 senators. But people were saying that you need to increase the number of members of the House of Representatives. This way you will have people that would represent artisans, mechanics, just different classes of people. They wanted to make sure that there are people represented in every class. Fishermen, people who had small farms, people who had large farms. And then Hamilton comes and says, well, when you look at it at the end of the day, there are going to be 3 classes that will be in the House of Representatives or the Senate. And they will represent all people. For example, one of the classes, he says, merchants. He says merchants depend on commerce. So if somebody builds something, manufactures something, a merchant wants to deal with that, sell it, buy it. That's their business. That's how they make money. So it's not like they're going to only represent what's good for merchants only. They will represent what's good for manufacturers and other people down the line. The same thing with agriculture and landed classes. Okay, sometimes people who have a lot of lands. He says, well, they will look for what's good for small landowners, small people who have a small property, even though sometimes that was not the case in some of the states. Okay, some of the states, the tenants, people who were renting from big landowners, had problems with them. But Hamilton says no, they won't. They'll get along. And the landowners will represent the small homeowners, even renters. And the third class that will be in the Congress or the Senate, he says, is the learned class. Those are the lawyers. So he says these will represent pretty much everybody in the society. So I'll start reading it. At first, it might be the beginning of this paper might be just a little complex. So just follow that and keep what I told you in mind here.